this is going to be epic, you guys. I've been on all these trips from 2008. So the last decade of my life, I've been honing in on Nassim's work and the travel and seeing all these sites. And if you guys would let me, I'd like to actually give you guys a little visual here for this. I'm going to go quickly through some images from past trips so you guys can get a sense of what we're going to see. So, can you see my slide yet?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so why are we going on this trip? Because ancient civilizations have encoded information that is super, pertinent to today's physics. You wouldn't think of it, but these guys actually are encoding the geometry of space. And if we understand what happened in the past and where we came from, it's going to help us guide us forward. There's sites all over the world that have significance in the ancient world. And so Nassim has been on a mission, and myself and all of us, to go see some of these places. And we started with one of the most important places, right? Egypt, with the Great Pyramid of Giza. We had a great crew. We had a bunch of different staff members and special guests on that trip. It's been different groups of people on each trip, which is really cool. Nassim, of course, is on all of them and speaks, but we have a lot of different staff members that have come. We went right to Giza. We went right to Cairo. As you know, we've been told the story that they had vine ropes and slaves, and we know that's not true, because when you go there and look at this in person, you can tell that they weren't just dragging stuff around, right? There's Khufu, the guy who supposedly made it. The only statue ever found of Khufu is 3 inches tall. So I don't think that guy made that. We got onto camels. We went riding around the Giza Plateau. It was amazing to, stand here and see. There's spots where you can see all 9 pyramids at once. There's actually 9 pyramids. Nassim would stand like right in front of the pyramid and start pointing at stuff and talking like he does. And to get the download while you're standing right there is a whole nother thing. He's standing there like, you see how eroded this is? Look at the top of this. That erosion takes 80,000 years according to geologists. And we're all like, yeah, so wait, I learned in school that we had these guys dragging stuff around. It was like we were on a pilgrimage. I took this shot looking at us walking back to the buses. I just imagined us back in the old days, like on a literal pilgrimage. Here's Nassim with martial efforts on the right. He just finished his book, Cosmometry. You've got Foster Gamble from Thrive Movement on the left. This is at Saqqara. We'd be walking around and the guides would walk right past evidence of ancient technology, like this obvious cut in dolerite, which is incredibly, hard, and you can see the width of the blade. There was all kinds of evidence. We'd go to places like this, Saqqara and Nassim, with a bunch of people standing around, and he'd be pointing at stuff like this and being like, you see that? That's ancient technology. How are they drilling that? And how come there's all these little striations? They must have been moving quickly. We saw crazy bowls at Saqqara. We saw cuts that are obviously not done with traditional copper tools. We saw those crazy boxes underground at Saqqara. And, it's so smooth that you can see a reflection in it. We had Muhammad pointing out that it looks like they had some sort of liquid that was dropping off of the lid. And so maybe they had some sort of crazy technology to smooth out rock with some liquid. We don't know. This is the Luxor Temple. Crazy levels of symmetry and very precise, like computer controlled kind of cuts. We went to the Sphinx. We got to go down into the Sphinx enclosure and walk right up against the Sphinx and check out this erosion that Robert Schoch and John Anthony West originally said, hey, this water erosion has got to be much older than the traditional date of the Sphinx of 4,500 years. So we got to see very close up, some of this evidence. And when you see it in person, it's a totally different thing. When you're standing in the Valley Temple and you look at how precise these stones were laid, how large they are, it really lands. Same thing, we went down to Abydos here and saw these gigantic boulders. They're two layers thick on the ceiling, 67-ton granite boulders. Got down there and saw the Flower of Life laser inscribed on the side of this massive column. We had Nassim here with Muhammad to his right and Foster behind him. And in real time, having discussions like, how did they do this? And look at this, and Nassim pointing stuff out, and Nassim seeing this place for the first time. These are very famous Flower of Life symbols. There's no way this was just done freehand with somebody like drawing it. And again, just being able to walk down in there, not all the tourists get to go to these places. So we were very fortunate to get to have all of us go down in there and spend a bunch of time wandering around, taking our own pictures, noticing these little bumps. Boy, that kind of looks like Peru, doesn't it? And then we went to the obelisk. We saw how they're cutting these massive stones out of the bedrock. We got to walk around in there. There's Foster and Nassim with a dolerite ball, the supposed stone they were using to cut this stuff. Nassim was saying, I don't think so. And if you think that's how they did that, then you're in denial. It was, you know, we have some fun on these trips. And then you got Muhammad, or that's
Okay,
Joseph,
okay.
Joseph showing the size
All right,
of the
Jamie,
cuts.
that wasn't funny, by the way. Those weren't funny. Just
Then
saying.
you've got Nassim all excited standing here at the Karnak temple at this obelisk, noting how perfect it all is. And we saw cuts like this on Elephantine Island, Nassim pointing out all sorts of details. So this is what we have to look forward to, is going to places like this with Nassim and the gang. Here's Hugh Newman checking out the biggest statues in the world. We got to go on a balloon ride and take pictures of that from the air. And yeah, here's the crew. If you weren't in Egypt, there's a bunch of the Egypt crew. We got to stand in between the paws of the Sphinx, which was fabulous. And here we were up on the Giza Plateau in the beginning. That's basically everyone. We were a pretty big group. And then we went, you know, Makari Pyramid. You're like, gosh, that kind of looks like Peru. Yeah, as it turns out, Incan and Egyptian is pretty similar. So we were like, well, let's go check out the Inca civilization now. And we went to Peru last year, where we saw very similar kind of stone stuff as we saw in Abydos. And we continued this series of going on the delegate gatherings. And Peru was fabulous as well. Here we have a shot of us doing a crystal meditation. I believe it's Bolivia on the top and Egypt on the bottom. So to put crystals together and all get in a circle and energize ourselves and these sites at the same time was fabulous. Right away in Peru, first day, we went to Merida, did circles. We went to this spot here, did another circle. Nassim carrying the 64. We went to Olete Tambo. We went to islands in the middle of the Lake Titicaca and did circles. We got to meet some incredible local wisdom keepers who told us about their tradition. We went to this portal and Amuru, which is fabulous. This is at Machu Picchu. It was quite hot, so Nassim is protecting himself there, but pointing out stones like this, 13-sided stone. No, they're not just cutting this with their like copper tools and pulling the stuff with vine ropes. We have great theories that have been developed thanks to being in these places with people like Brian Forster and Hugh Newman and Nassim and others, saying that maybe they had some sort of high technology and they were able to plasmify the rock. We even got to see elongated skulls and fascinating. And at the end, we got to go to Machu Picchu. We did yet another amazing circle there. And Nassim being there for the first time, it's fun to watch him experience this stuff for the first time. We're all like kids in a candy store because we've been talking about this stuff for decades, and now we get to see it climb to the top of the mountain with a bunch of people. So it was great to like have bonding experiences and then have ceremonies and circles saying goodbye at the end. It's going to be like this. It's going to be just like this, except it'll be Mexico in the background. Mora went to Rapa Nui with Nassim and a bunch of crew. They had a fabulous time. I wasn't there on that one, so I don't have any of my own pictures. But if you look at the pyramids around the world, you see commonalities. And as a matter of fact, the Pyramid of the Sun and in Teotihuacan and the Great Pyramid are almost the same area. It's only 3% different at the base. So we're, of course, going to Teotihuacan. We hopefully get to walk up on there. And like Morris said, we're going to go see stuff that's hidden. And Teotihuacan is built at 19.47 degrees on the sphere that we're on. And as you know, if you put a tetrahedron in a sphere, it intersects at 19.47. That's why they put that city there. So we're excited to go check out these sites in person. The biggest island on the biggest mountain on the earth is at 19.7, Mauna Kea. The biggest volcano in the solar system, Olympus Mons, is also at 19.47. The big red spot is at 19.47. Sunspots on the sun are at 19.47. And now I just wanted to go quickly back to Mexico, where this is when we were doing the emissary program, which is a little different than this. This is a 10-day program where Nassim talks to you for 9 hours a day for 10 days. You get around 100 hours of Nassim. And we did crystal meditations. We climbed up on top of this pyramid and got to look back down on the group. And we had crystals when they didn't even have the cases yet. These were blank crystals that we had. This was Nassim's birthday, November of 2011. And here it is, the Chinese pyramids, the Mexican pyramids, and the Egyptian pyramids, all having the same kind of alignment, all lining up with the stars in the belt of Orion. Doesn't seem like that's a coincidence. So let's go to Teotihuacan, having been to Egypt, and check out the layout for ourselves. Here's where it gets really crazy, you guys. It does that on the larger scale too. On the macro scale, those pyramid complexes also show you that same alignment. Could that be a coincidence? Doubtful. They all had the same kind of pyramids and the same kind of, architecture, and they even all did mummification. Maybe they were all pointing to a hidden, lost civilization. Like Graham Hancock likes to say, we're a species with amnesia, and we're going on this trip so we can remember where we actually came from. Here's us in the cenote, charging the cenote with crystals. So if you want to come hang out with us, charging crystals with cenotes, come to Mexico. It's going to be ridiculous.